I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. When pressure rises, most leaders assume they just need to push harder. But research is revealing something quite different. The calmer you are, the clearer you think, and the better decisions you make. In this episode, we explore the surprising connection between stress, heart rate, and leadership performance. My guest, Santosh Kumar, is a professor of computer science at the University of Memphis who studies wearable technology and stress, and he explains how our bodies may operate with something like a lifetime heart rate budget. When your average heart rate stays elevated, often from emotional stress that never gets released, we quietly drain that budget and shorten our life. But when we learn how to release physical or emotional stress, our resting heart rate drops, our calmness increases, and our ability to think clearly improves. For leaders making high-stakes decisions, that matters more than we might realize. So consider this. When emotional stress shows up in your life, frustration, conflict, anxiety, how can you release that energy so you can return to a calm state and make better decisions? For the answer to that and other questions, you'll want to listen to this episode. Santosh, it's great to have you on the show, and I know that you have quite a history of studying and understanding the effects of stress, in particular on the heart. And certainly in this day and age, the idea of resilience and mindfulness is becoming not just a fad, but it seems to be really finding its way into people's consciousness and into businesses trying to help their employees stay more healthy. Obviously, a healthier employee will stay longer and cost you less in the long term. What's the research that you are most compelled to talk about that we should know about relative to stress, whether it be good stress or bad stress, in particular when it has to do with our ticking heart?
So there was a recent research about the heart rate budget. So that was published in Nature 2024, which talked about, in general, mammals have a lifetime budget of how many heartbeats we have. You don't know that budget. Then humans, because we have extended our lifespan, we have a higher budget compared to our size, right? But when there is a budget for everybody, and then they did the study with several cohorts across the world, they found that we humans have a budget too. And so if you don't get to control what is your budget, but you get to control how you spend that budget, how fast you spend it, and whether you spend it on assets or you spend it on liabilities.
Interesting. So let me just stop for a second. So you're saying that, are you implying that we are preordained with a certain number of heartbeats in our life?
That's what the research showed by analyzing different cohorts, that depending upon how fast or slow. So again, these are statistical. So it's not that applies exactly to every individual. But there is a lifetime of energy budget, and heartbeat is what kind of determines how much energy you are spending or saving each day.
But you can extend, or could you not add more quote unquote heartbeats to your life if you made certain lifestyle and stress related choices?
That's an excellent point, Dean, and that is what I mean by assets.
Okay.
So then there's another research that shows, okay, how do you spend your heartbeat budget on assets? If you
Hmm.
spend it on assets, what happens? Your wealth grows, right? It gives returns. And so in this case, what you do is like a fitness enthusiast. So if people spend that same heartbeat budget on exercise, okay, you can extend your lifespan. You can reduce your heartbeats, the heartbeats you spend each day, by 10%.
So let me say that again. If you were to do
If
more
you
physical activity, you would extend your heartbeats by 10%, or would
you
you?
save heartbeats, so that means each day you spend less
Oh,
heartbeats.
oh, I see. So in a sense, you've got almost like a reserve, or
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
You're using
Exactly.
your financial terms, assets and liabilities. I'm trying to
Yes.
make the correlation here. Interesting. So, all right, keep talking about this. This is
Yeah.
fascinating.
So then what they found is that if you can if you can engage in exercise, you are going really hard at the moment, right? But that builds your strength in your heart and the arteries. And so therefore, when you are not running, or when you are not engaged in intensive exercise, your heart has built enough capacity that in each stroke it's able to get a lot more done, and therefore it
Hmm.
doesn't need to beat as fast in the rest of the day. And that's how you are able to save the heartbeats in the rest of the day.
So, I've got a neighbor, probably my best friend right now, who was very into soccer and tennis, and he played soccer all the way up until I think in his early 60s. And soccer is one of those sports, as you know, that
Yes.
exert a lot of energy, and it's going to be pumping a lot of blood, and it's big on the cardiovascular. And so now he's 80, and he goes to the doctor, and the doctor is trying to do some sort of a stress test to be able to figure out how his heart is doing. And they always are frustrated because it takes a long time, a lot of exertion for John's heart rate to get above 100, because his heart has been so well trained over these years. So could a
Yes.
person who hasn't had a history of physical activity retrain a heart to be more resilient, to be more healthy? Or are you sort of stuck with an older heart because you just, as a kid and as a young adult, you just weren't into sports? You weren't into really being physically active.
Yeah, the research shows that even when you are in 60s and you begin to do this, you can grow your heart muscles, and you can strengthen your heart. There are examples of, I think, there one marathon runner, he started marathon in his 80s.
What was the
And
word? Did you say, what did you start in his
he,
80s?
he he started running marathons
Oh, marathons. Oh, got it. Got it. Yeah.
in 80s, and then set
Wow.
records for, the marathon running, I think is called Fauja Singh, is in UK.
Wow.
So it's not that, anytime you want to start, you can.
God, that's a fascinating thing to start a marathon process in your 80s. I get blown away by people who are older than I am. I love to ski, and I'll be on a chairlift with somebody, and I'll turn over and look to the person to my left and my right, and like, it's clearly these people are elderly, and yet they're doing double diamond runs. Or I play pickleball on the weekend, and we've got 4 or 5 people on this team who are good. They're not slouches. These are good players. They're in their
Yeah.
80s. I was like, I can't believe it. Going like, I hope I'm half that in shape when I'm in my 80s. It just blows me away, and I'm so inspired by it.
Yes. So that's what, you can do to build your asset. So that's how you can go a lot further with your heartbeat budget.
All right, so talk about the flip side. We're going to have to hear that. What's the things that we do that actually are costly to our
Yes.
heart?
Yeah. So in that, if you reduce your resting heart rate by 5 beats per minute, you get to celebrate one more birthday. So that was also in that research.
All right, say that again, because that's an important thing I want to make sure people hear. Repeat that.
So if you reduce your resting heart rate by 5 beats per minute, so that means if you slow your heart rate to 5 beats by 5 beats per minute, you get to celebrate one more birthday.
So that's 1 year. So 5 heartbeats per minute on average, I'm gathering, you get another year of life. That's
Yes.
huge. So you're saying more cardiovascular activity will bring the resting heart rate down on
Yes.
average?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm assuming that the flip side, if you don't have a cardiovascular activity ritual, your heart rate standard beats per minute will be higher.
Yes.
I'm just spelling
That's
this out. Yeah.
yes. I mean, there are some people who are endowed with great genetics, and so for them, maybe it doesn't apply. But on average, that's what happens.
So can you also, I mean, I'm noticing I've got a Garmin. You and I talked about this. I don't have the app to be, I don't have the kind of watch to be able to put your app on, which we'll get to here shortly. But, I notice what my standing heart rate is. I could take a look at any time, right? And I go, okay, it's like, 72 or whatever. But I also noticed that just even though if I haven't been out exercising in like say today or yesterday, I can lower it just by breathing or slowing down my breathing or reduce or intentionally reducing some sort of stress. I'm assuming that's part of what can cause your heart rate to go down on average.
Yes, so you can also engage in meditation. I can engage
Hmm.
in breathing exercises that can also help you reduce your heart rate. So it's not just the resting heart rate, but it's also the heart rate throughout the entire day.
But what
So
about the
because again,
stuff
we are
like
talking.
what about? I mean, I like coffee. I I can't. It's one of my few vices. It's I have a cup of coffee in the morning. Maybe I do have two. Uh, but of course, it's a stimulant, and that stimulant will increase my heart rate. So is that a liability for my heart health?
That part I don't know about the effect of coffee. That we have
Okay,
not studied, or I have not read enough about it to say something informed. But
okay,
I can talk about the liability, which comes from everyday stress.
okay. So so Santosh, how did you get into this? I mean, what was it that caused you to go, aha, I got to do this? You're a smart guy. You could do a lot of different things in this life, in this world, and this on this, this your time on Earth. Why did you choose to go down this path?
It was 2006, Dean. Okay, I mean I was largely uh, mathematical side of of computer science. I used to solve theory problems or prove theorems. And so, we solved some very difficult problem. And so I was pretty confident that give me any hard problem and we can solve it quickly. It
Hmm.
was around that time that the NIH director, Francis Collins, he had just led this genomic initiative. And then he had a vision for America. What he said was, their genes have a big role in determining our health outcomes, but a larger determinant of our health outcomes is what we do in daily life.
Hmm.
And we got to measure that.
Hmm.
And so, therefore, he proposed a large initiative at the federal government level at NIH with all the institutes and centers involved. It was called Genes, Environment, and Health Initiative. And so he wanted the researchers to develop devices and the AI to be able to measure health related behaviors in wherever we are, anytime, anywhere. And so our project, I led a team of biomedical engineers and psychologists and physiologists across the country to develop a wearable and the AI to go with it that can measure stress and addictive behavior in people's natural life. And somehow, uh, fortunately, we were selected to do that. And so when that happened, I was fresh out of proving some theorems. So full of confidence. I go there at this NIH meeting where you have all these luminaries of the field, and I go declare in 4 years, yeah, of course, we will have solved this problem. So that means everybody will be able to track their stress, when and where they are with the devices and the AI that we will create. And so those people who were a lot more informed, they realized what kind of fool I was. So they took me aside and said, "Do you have any idea what you're talking about?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Okay, you're doing something nice, but you don't realize what you have gotten yourself into will keep you busy for 20 years.
Hmm.
And here we are in year 20, and now is we have something that is able to change lives." So it took that long of iterations for us to ultimately be able to do, which I thought we will do in 4 years.
That's fascinating. So talk about um, your device. What does it measure and the kind of benefits that you're beginning to see?
So it goes back to the assets and liabilities that I talked about. So
Hmm.
right now, there is a liability portion. Can I first describe that? Then I can
Sure.
describe
Please
how
do.
we help
Yeah,
you limit your liabilities in life.
sure.
So the liability side is when you are spending your heartbeats while you are seated and you are worrying about something, or you're angry about something, or that you're doing something that is that gets your heartbeat up, but your body is not spending that energy.
Hmm.
So if our body has evolved over this last whatever hundreds of thousands of years. Any time that people previously got stressed, it was that the nature has built us such that it gives you extra energy
Hmm.
to go hard at fight or flight, to go save yourself, or to face that challenge. But the challenge of these days is such that it requires largely the brain cycles, and our limbs are not the ones who are doing that job anymore. So all of that extra energy pumped by the heart during that time is getting wasted.
So Santa, let me ask you something. I know it's going to be an obvious answer here. So you mentioned that if your heart rate goes up higher, like so especially with, exercise and the recovery, you begin to notice that your standing beats per minute reduces. And if you are able to reduce it by 5 beats per minute over a certain period of time, you're going to basically live an extra year. Okay. But so explain to me the science behind the heart beating faster due to a stress situation that is not physically induced. Like, for example, we had a situation, we went to Europe last year and we had some issues with going through customs, and it was extremely stressful. The whole trip was in jeopardy at that point. We almost thought like, oh my God, we won't be able to get in, right? I noticed that my heart rate was just going nuts. I was triggered. I had all of my fight or flights going. Every gosh darn chemical in my body was probably like in maximum production. I was stressed out. My heart was going high. How is that any different from the heart's perspective than if I went out for a run?
Yes, because you are using all that energy. So that means so all that energy that is being pumped by the heart, you're able to utilize that energy. But if you are stationary in your custom situation, if you are running around, meaning that you are releasing that energy as well, not just letting it
Oh.
dissipate, then it's not a problem. But if you're sitting on a computer or sitting on a couch watching a news, or reading an email, or in a meeting, that you are getting aroused, in those cases is when your that energy has nowhere to go.
So that's a great point. I'm so glad you say that. So then in these how do we release the energy when we're not physically active?
Yes. So recently we did a analysis of Super Bowl to say
Super.
so of people watching Super Bowl. So
Oh, the
what
Super
happens?
Bowl. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes, what
Yes.
happens
Yes.
to fans when they are watching the game?
Right. They get
If
all
they
upset.
do
Yeah.
exactly what you just did,
Yeah.
then it's great.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting on the couch and you are cursing at, okay, how could you drop that? Why didn't, so then if you're sitting stationary, that's when it's a problem.
So, okay. So, all right. This is really good. Let me just unpack this. I know this is very rudimentary, but if I or somebody listening to this starts to feel that emotional stress, AKA our heart rate starts to go up, we need to get into some sort of physical um, activity that releases that. Much
Yes,
like I'm watching the
yes,
Super Bowl, I'm standing up, my arms are going up.
yes,
That's a
yes, yes,
release. But if we're
yes,
holding in, because that's often sometimes what happens when we get stressed out,
yes,
emotionally stressed out, is it instead of expanding, we
yes,
contract. And that's what you're saying is that response is actually what causes the damage to the heart long term.
yes, yes,
So
exactly,
we could
precisely,
keep the
precisely.
heart healthy even when we're mentally stressed out by doing something physical to let it out.
Yes. So if
Okay.
you read something, let's say you didn't like it, I mean, you see that it's really arousing you, go take a walk.
That's so good. This is really good. I remember, if I could tell a quick story, I did karate for about 10 years, got up to third degree and so forth. And I remember we had a guy that came in and did a workshop for us, and he was talking about energy. And I saw him hit a person, and based on that, of course, you have to respond, and the body clenches down on where you've been hit. He said to me, and I got to experience this as well, he was all about, once you get hit, you got to release the pain quickly. And we would often do something physically with our arms, with our shoulders, or whatever, just to release the pain. He said the problem with when you get hit, it the stress problem isn't about the punch. It's about how you hold on to it.
Yes.
And I thought, like, that
That's
is brilliant. And so
yes,
that
yes.
became a metaphor for not just physical stress, but emotional stress.
Yes. So I've met many senior executives. I mean, in seeing as to how they use the app, and for what purpose. And so one of the senior executives I met, his approach when something happens in that meeting, and if it is remote, he practices his golf swings.
Oh, really?
so, so that way his golf gets better and that energy is released.
So that's the thing, is we in business, especially now that we've got so many of our conversations happening over Zoom, WebEx, and Teams, we're sitting down. And of
Yes,
course, we still get the normal stimulus and response, and we get upset when people say certain things, but we don't stand up and move around when that happens. We just stay sitting, and that's part of
yes,
the problem.
yes,
Okay.
precisely.
That's really good. So I heard two things so far. Is one, we got to do more physical activity to be able to get our resting heart rate lower as a recovery from that exertion, because it's already being
Yeah.
released out of the body. And number two, when we're emotionally stressed out, is don't hold it in, let it go by some sort of physical activity or release.
Yes, so there are several more impacts of this liability.
Okay.
I explain it at four different time frames. One is in the moment. So recently, Benjamin Bartegi, he is a leadership coach from Europe.
Okay.
He had a very viral LinkedIn post. The calmer you are, the clearer you can think.
The calmer you are, the clearer you can think. Love that.
So what his thing, what he wanted to say, it's not that it's new information, but he said it very nicely. Is that if you are under pressure, your brain is optimizing not to make the best long-term decisions,
Yes.
but whatever will release that pressure. So your
Yes.
executive ability weakens because your choices narrow. And so the decisions you make are more to provide your brain the relief rather than your prefrontal cortex being creative about considering these various options. So
Mm.
so that's when I talked to several executives. They said, "How are you using this app, and why are you using this app?" They said, "I review because the app gives them information about the mental strain in each
Mm.
meeting. I review which meeting I was not calm enough because if I'm not sufficiently calm, I don't make the best decisions, and my meetings are really high stakes. And so I have to be able to engage my full brain." And so that's what they were doing. They were calm individuals, calmer than most people I meet otherwise in life, all these senior executives, but they wanted to be even calmer. So
Okay.
if you're not calm, that's another effect of this liability that you don't get to make the best decisions.
So the app can actually timestamp your heart rate given an activity, meeting, person. So you can go back and go, oh, I just had this conversation to Natasha. So I just went to this meeting. Whoa, is my heart rate up? But to your point though, my heart rate could be up, but does it how does it know the difference whether or not I'm releasing the energy versus
Yeah,
holding it?
so that's the app's AI. So it's able to identify in this noisy real world that we live in, be able to isolate that, what proportion of that meeting involved a more strain on your heart than usual.
But can it also, that's my, going back to my former question though, is can it identify when you've held on to that energy or when you released it?
Yes, so you will be able to see
Oh,
that as well. So meaning that
ooh,
did you move afterwards? So you will see in the app, for each hour, the proportion of that hour you spent in red, which is this strain, you spent on movements, you spent in a calm state or in a resting state. So that means there are these different states that your heart can be in. And you get a calmness score. So that basically helps you see as to how calm you have been throughout the day
okay.
or on the
Okay.
day so far. And for each meeting, you get to see, okay, what proportion of that meeting I was not calm. And
Can
that's
you,
what was so useful for executives.
so, I talked to a guy on this show once by the name Paul J. Zach. He's a neuroscientist and he's got also some sort of an app that can measure maybe different things than what you're talking about. But what I was interested in is can you can you scale this up to a team? Like say for example, I'm the
Yes,
leader of a team. Okay, you know where
yes,
I'm going
yes,
with this. I'm running a
yes,
meeting, right? And I am stressing that crap out of everybody
yeah,
and I get data that reflects that. I'm going like, "Whoa, I better change the way in which I facilitate this meeting
yeah.
because I somehow had an effect on people's stress levels."
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. That's exactly what happened with me, Dean. So, because these executives, they said, okay, it'll be a game changer if you allow me to see how calm I am before I go into the meeting.
Yes.
So because they said, that proactive will help me and if I'm not calm, I can calm myself down. So for them, we developed a watch app that sits on the watch. So
Mm.
on your watch, you just open the app and see what is your current state. So
My current state, right.
yes, yes.
Yes.
And so I was leading a meeting. I saw a conflict situation arise. I was testing that feature on the watch. I said, okay, no, I really need to check. So I opened the app and I see my strain was rising, and it shows you as to how much in red you are going. And I paused, took a moment, calmed myself down before I said anything. And just by that
Mm.
act, I was able to prevent the situation from escalating. Imagine if everyone in the meeting, before they go to the meeting, they check their watch, that are they calm enough? In the meeting, if you see that, temperature is rising, then people check it and then bring it back down. So
So that happens on an individual level, right? So
yes,
people
currently it happens on an individual level.
could it, or do you have plans for a point whereby I'm in a meeting, I'm the facilitator. This is real world stuff for me, right? I'm looking at my watch. Okay, so here's my heart rate. Okay, I'm not in the red zone. Cool. And I'm going and saying, okay, now what's the aggregate or average score of everybody in the room? Woo, they are stressed out. What happened before this meeting? Did they
I
have
see.
some bad news come to them? My first order of business is to calm them down.
Yes.
Can I get that sort of data?
So Dean, we can, so we have not released that feature yet, but
Okay.
if you are looking for that feature, it can be developed.
100%. I think this is something that could be a real game changer.
Yes.
Because I'm really interested in meetings, meeting management. I suppose in some ways because I'm a facilitator, I do a lot of strategic planning sessions. We do a lot of work with executives. I do in particular. That's a big piece of what I do. So I'm always into how do I create the best environment? How do I create the best learning environment for the people that I'm working with? But see, that's the same thing that leaders do because we spend, on average, depending upon how high up in an organization you are, 18 to 24, 25 hours a week in a meeting that you are either leading or a participant of, which don't even get me to how costly that is. But your stress level is obviously going up and down through all of those.
Yes.
And if we can somehow monitor that to the point that you just made around this article around the calmer you are, the better decisions you make, that could have some real downstream benefit.
Yes. And
Huh.
I was reading how you mentioned that if to propose an idea in a meeting, it involves feeling vulnerable. So
Yes.
unless you dial the temperature down in the meeting, it will be very hard to have those ideas bubble up. So therefore, it's, having that kind of measurement to say, okay, if I really am looking for ideas in this meeting, I need to ensure that people are really calm.
Can you imagine like going into a situation and I'm a leader of of a team or whatever, and I've got some tough news to give, I
Yes.
got to hold somebody accountable or I got to let somebody go. And I know what my heart rate level is. Maybe if I'm lucky, I have the ability to know what their heart rate level is. And at some point I'm going to go like, we're both stressed out. We're both way in the red zone. We should probably not have this conversation right now. Right. Or we need to both just take a step back and slow it down a little bit so that we can actually be able to hear each other because the stress is sometimes the very thing that keeps us from the content.
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. So could you please get your app on the Garmin platform, please?
Noted.
I'll be right there for you. I'll be downloading it immediately.
Okay.
I suppose I could go out and buy an Apple Watch, I suppose, but I just, So what are you noticing? What's your research telling you about some of the benefits after you have had people use this app and get this sort of awareness?
Yeah, so this was the second part of the liability that the meetings, what impact they can have on you if you're not calm enough. There are two more levels to it. The second level is end of day. So the end of day. Yes.
Okay.
So end of day is when you go and meet the most important people in your life.
Your family.
Right? And each of these instances, if you are not calm enough, they add up very quickly. And as very soon you're out of energy. If you're out of energy, your willpower is low, your patience is thin. And then if all the parties are gathering in the home, they're all depleted, that's not the best experience for the relationship that matter the most to you.
This is good.
So what the app does is it predicts if you are spending that energy too quickly. And that's the only time it sends alerts. And many people, they use the app just for those alerts to say, okay, you know what? I really need to slow myself down.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, the idea is that you end the day with greater energy than you do today.
But that's so interesting because we often say, oh, how was your day? I was long. It was rough. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Pour me a drink. And then, of course, you just sort of sit on the couch and watch a bunch of YouTube videos and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
have a hard time going to sleep because you're up all the time, worrying about stuff. Yeah.
Right. Precisely. So,
Huh.
so that's the third way that this becomes
Okay.
a liability. The fourth one, we touched on this, but it all adds up not just over the day, but over the lifetime. So that leads to increase in the resting heart rate. So that now you are not only you are spending more heartbeats in these strains, but you are spending more heartbeats in general because your entire heart rate is itself elevated. So there is a concept called workload heart rate in the app, which is basically how fast does your heart beat when you are in the strain, when you're in
Okay.
a strain state. And each week there is a checkup for this. And so each week you get to see the trend. How am I doing? Am I improving or going down? And so there is a longevity company that developed some compounds to improve cerebral blood flow. And they were thinking, how do we measure as to are we really helping people increase their cerebral blood flow? And so their founders, they got on phone with me a couple of weeks after they were using the app. They said, we love it. I said, why? I said, just by looking at the workload heart rate trend, you see, I started using applying my compound on myself to test on this January 12th. In 3 weeks, you see this steadily declining. And and whereas in another case, someone, when they download the app, they talk to me. I just ask them about their data. I look at it and say, okay, I see that there's a lot. This day you are exhausted. What was going on that day? Or I see this hour, it shows a lot of red or in this vicinity. What was going on in here? And so that helps them to begin to reflect as to what is it where they are not calm? What is it that's affecting them? And then they see, okay, this day my workload heart rate jumped by 15 beats per minute. I said, what happened that day? And then they say, oh, that's when this conflict started. And from that point onwards, you see their workload heart rate is up, you see their sleep is down, you see their calmness is down. And then they first time realize, okay, this is what's the cost of that conflict.
Is really
it worth
good.
it?
That's good. So you're touching upon something, but without really saying it, which is motivation.
Yes.
And I want to get to that a little bit because I could see you referenced a person who could support you, a clinician, maybe it's a coach who says, hey, what happened yesterday? Your heart rate was really high. Let's talk about that. And let's build in some patterns or habits, rituals so that, so now you got some external support. Now, without that, somebody looks at their watch and goes, oh, geez, I'm up to that again. How do you motivate behavior? Because sometimes the bad news is like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to freaking deal with it. It is what it is. I'm just pissed off. You get upset. And this thing just gets me even more mad because, and I'm pointing to the watch, right? Because I don't want to know how I'm failing myself. And I've already feel that I'm failing other people. So this just makes me upset. So nice idea, but I'm not going to play. Can you work past that in some ways?
So there are two answers to that. One, that's where human coaches like you can be of tremendous help. So meaning that when you talk to somebody about their data, you can come up with those creative ideas to say, okay, let's see, why don't you try this? So that's one side of it. The second
you
side,
mentioned the word human, so I can't wait to hear what you're going to say next.
The second is self-reflection. So
okay.
I'm not going to talk about the AI coach.
Okay.
But the second is the self-reflection. And so we have seen that many people, they self-initiate behavior changes. So what they get to see in the app, once the new version of the app that will be released this week, you get to see your calmness score each day. You get to
Okay.
see how many heartbeats are you saving each day by being calmer,
Wow. Okay.
or
Okay.
heartbeats that you are losing by not being calm enough.
Okay. That could be a motivator. Because especially
So
if you make the analogy that, 5 beats less per minute on average creates another birthday. I mean, gosh, why wouldn't you wanna live longer?
yeah, so in this way, I did my own calculations. So like that day when I had that stressful meeting, which I
Mm,
was able to at least uh, uh, take it to a good outcome. But the effect on me was I lost about 3,000 beats that day. Okay.
okay, so but I wanna go back to this. I wanna make sure this is really clear in my mind that there is this app can measure the difference between the good stress and the bad stress.
So
Meaning that I can go to a concert and I love music and I go, "Oh my god, this is a great
yes,
band," and I'm
yes, yes,
dancing and
yes,
my heart
yes,
rate goes up, but I'm letting
yes,
it out. You can
yes,
identify when the energy is being released versus being stored.
yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
precisely, precisely.
okay. That's
And
fascinating.
so I calculated that at that if I could save save that extra that I spent on that day, even now, if I can start doing it now, I get to celebrate one more birthday.
Mm.
So just by being calmer, you can add one more birthday to it. So if you engage in regular exercise, that is one way. Improving your calmness, that is another way that it will help you extend your lifespan, in addition
But
to all this workplace benefits.
but to your point though, if you are stressed, the third thing I'm hearing you say is, yeah, if you happen to notice your stress level goes up because of something emotional bad, get the energy out of your body.
Yes,
So I mean, this would be this is sort of against the meeting norms, but all of a sudden somebody is sitting in a boardroom and they're getting stressed out and they stand up and they start flailing their arms around just to be able to get the energy out of their body. Now that would look pretty ridiculous, but almost you could create the guiding principles within a meeting and say, "Hey, if any of you guys notice your stress rates are going up, stand up and move around. You have full right to do so because we don't want you to hold on to that energy. We want you to let it go."
yes. And you said you want really these meetings to improve. That's one way to improve the meetings. You notice the temperature going up,
Yeah.
take a break, have everyone walk around.
See, but that's what we normally do is like even good facilitators will say, "Hey, I've noticed that, Santosh, I can see that you're angry or upset." And then what we normally do is let's talk about it. So maybe that's a way of getting some of the energy out. Yes, that could be, but another might be is like, why don't you talk about it while you're walking around the room?
Yes, yeah, I think that will be huge because talking doesn't release as much energy. It's basically 1 or 2 beats per minute worth of energy. That is it.
Huh.
But if you take a walk, if you have your entire
Jeez.
body move, that is a much more effective way to do
I was
so. So
did some work with Mayo for many years, and they tried something out. I'm not sure they still do it, but they had walking meetings. And so you're up there in the campus up there in Rochester, and they have, 5 or 6 people, and there's a leader of the leading meeting with a little placard hanging down off their shirt that says, "Meeting in progress, please do not interrupt." And they're out there walking, going through places, and they're having a meeting while they're walking. And I thought, what a great idea.
yes,
That's
yes.
good. That's really good. So talk about how can people connect to you, your app? Where do we go to learn more about you, your research, and how to take advantage of this?
So, thank you for asking that. So, if people want to use this tool to improve their calmness or to measure their calmness, and then they can download the app. It's called Q's Hub. It's on the App Store for those who wear Apple Watches. If you are a Samsung Galaxy Watch user, that app should also be available on the Play Store. Uh, one of our enthusiastic prospective users, Dean Newland, said, "Get it out on the on Garmin watches."
On
So
Garmin, please. Yeah, you just email
but
me and text me as soon as that happens, and I will go out and download it. Or, I suppose I should maybe just have a second watch, but I really like this one. Yes.
So and then getting in touch with me, LinkedIn, and then to read my research, Google Scholar, has all the
Ah,
papers. And otherwise, just the center that I lead, NIH funded center, it's called M. Center. And so the M. Center's website has a lot of resources, all the background research, done by the entire center over the years.
huh.
And so those are some of the ways
And
to
then
get
what's
involved.
coming, in the next 5 years for you? I mean, in terms of the work that you're doing and the app that you're creating, what will we see, in a few years that we don't have now?
Yes. So I really wish, you talk about purpose in life, Dean, right?
Yeah.
What is the sense of purpose in life? So we are indeed on a mission. So our mission is, we want to see a change in this world. I hear a lot about someone getting a stroke, someone
Mm,
having a heart attack, someone just had a new diagnosis. We want to see that world change. We
mm,
want to see the temperature come down. We want to, create, help the world be a calmer place,
mm.
both in at workplace and at home. So if we are successful, people will be calmer, they will be healthier, they will be more productive, and they will live long. That's the change that we wish to make in this world, so that people don't create wealth at the cost of health. They create more wealth with a better health and longer life. That's the change that we are after.
We could keep talking about this, but are you familiar with blue zones?
No.
All right, so look that up. Look up blue zones and their research and the power of nine, um, the community work and the lifestyle medicine, foodist medicine. That whole movement that's going on right now was something that we're very much involved in helping facilitate some of that change. But you might find some research or some synchronicities, and who knows, maybe even support one another in that. But it's certainly in the same area. It's
Okay.
great stuff. I really enjoyed this conversation. I just didn't know what to expect when I first thought I would, get on this call with you. I would just been so delightfully surprised about the work that you're doing, and it's simple, it makes sense, but you've got research to back it up, and you've got an app that adds real awareness around it. I'm serious. I can't wait for it to come out on my app for my phone. I mean, my watch. I'm really excited about this. This is good. Good work.
Thank you so much, team.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of your day. Have a
You
have a
too.
stress-free day. Have a calm day, or if your day gets stressed out, may you be able to release it.
Yes. Precisely.
Perfect. If you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to rate and review our show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps more people discover Leadervation and this kind of conversation. And if you're looking to strengthen leadership, culture, or team performance in your organization, you can learn more about working with me and Mission Facilitators International at mfileadership.com.